What is going on, everybody? Welcome to week 2 of Goat Talk. Sorry for a little bit of a late start. We ran into some technical difficulties as we will be expecting for this entire semester as we do it online. I hope everyone had a good week. I'm here with two special guests. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Fazz, after you.
How's it going, everyone? Mike Fazz back here on Go Talk. I'm wearing a mask because I do just want to give a quick PSA to our Monmouth listeners. We have a rise in cases, so just doing my part. I'm going to take it off because I'm alone in my room, but please, if you're on campus, if you're around other people, I dropped it. Please wear a mask. Please continue to wear a mask, practice social distancing, and that's my PSA for the night.
What Faz said. Hi, everyone. I'm Billy O'Neill, and after months and months and months of begging, Sean finally let me back on to Go Talk.
Stop. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. I am the station manager at Hawk TV. If you don't know, that's where we're live right now, and I'm always happy to be here and talk some sports with the boys. But we got a lot on the agenda for today, so I don't want to take up too much of your time introducing little old me.
Well, a lot happened today, and something we can talk about a little bit maybe later is Doc Rivers signing. That just happened recently. So that caught me a little bit off guard because that kind of all happened today. But we will see. We can talk about that later, about the Sixers signing him. But first, guys, I want to talk about Game 1 and your thoughts on it. So, Mike, I'm going to ask you first. What's your initial thoughts there as you're wearing your Lakers jersey?
Listen, I thought that this was the Lakers had it in the bag before the series even started. We saw injuries to Jimmy Butler, who I think is going to play Game 2, but we saw more significant injuries to Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo, who I think was the X factor for this team coming into this series. I think it's over. I think the Lakers win this in 5. The Heat are going to get a game on them. I said 6 before the series started, but I just think those were 2 huge injuries. Dragic has been Miami's leading scorer throughout the playoffs. Adebayo, I think, has honestly, yes, they have Jimmy Butler. I'm sorry. I think Adebayo has really been their best player. He's been such a huge X factor for this team, and I think he was their only body that they really had to throw at Anthony Davis. But now that you lose Adebayo, I just think this is going to be just such a runaway for the Magic. Oh my God, I wish for the Lakers. Such a runaway win for the Lakers. I give it 5 games. But Game 1 was really, really fun to watch. I think something that was so great about it was that this wasn't the series that people expected. So even though the game was a complete blowout, it was just really cool to see, especially Miami, a series that people didn't really anticipate watching. But, I mean, for the most part, I think Miami did what they do really well, which is, decent shooting. They play as a cohesive unit. I think they really played well, but I just think the star power of the Lakers was too much for them last night, and that's going to be the story all series.
No, yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I hate to disagree with that, but because I'm wearing the Heat swag right now. But I'd love to see the Heat win. I'd love to see specifically Jimmy Butler win because Jimmy Butler is just such a great player and he's such a storied career and such a storied player, an individual. And you'd love to see him be in a finals experience where he can pull it out and do something really special there. But they have a lot to overcome. Like, especially right now with you say it specifically with the injury bug, and I can't help but agree. Like, when you have to overcome losing, not that you're losing Jimmy Butler, because it does look like he'll probably play. And I've heard conflicting reports about Bam. So I heard he might be playing. I know his injury was significant, but I did hear he might play. I heard the x-rays came back negative, which is positive, and you love to hear that. But again, we're just at a point in the season where those things can't be happening. And it's really unfortunate, and you hate to see things like that go down that way. But it's going to rely a lot on young players and veterans who have proven themselves this year to step up in that Heat lineup. And I don't know if we have room for that. And I know Ben DeVito is watching right now, and he's glaring at me, and he's just not happy with anything I'm saying. But like, I'm telling you right now that it's going to be a challenge for them to overcome this. And the only way I could see the Heat pulling out this series is if they go full 7. And they'd have to play the best defensive series in basketball because they have to lock down 2 of the best scorers in basketball right now on the same team. And one who's a big man who's significantly more sizable than anyone the Heat has to offer right now as far as playing in that department. I don't know how you stop AD and LeBron at the same time. Jimmy Butler did what he could given the injury diagnosis he was playing through against LeBron. Still not enough. The team has a lot to overcome, and I'd love to see the Heat pull it out, but I think that the Lakers are playing for a lot this season. They're playing for a lot personally, playing for a lot for LeBron's legacy. If LeBron loses, I don't know if he even has a legacy left, so I don't think he's trying to lose this year. Not that he ever is before, but he's in a real weird predicament right now. So I don't think the Lakers could really, or especially LeBron, can't really afford to lose this series. And that's kind of a different thing. One great thing about the Heat that will always be with me is the fact that they're a really young team filled with a lot of really young star power. So I could always see them coming back in the future, but I don't know if they could pull it out right now, especially with the fact that they've been hit with the injury bug so early on in a series like this.
I mean, it sucks to see, Bam go down, Dragic go down that early, as well as Jimmy Butler was banged up in that game. And this is coming from a person who, I don't bet a lot on sports, but I did put some money on the Heat to win this as an underdog because I've been picking the Heat to win the East since March. And Ben made it clear to me last week that he's been picking the Heat since forever, but I can't beat him on that. He has video evidence of it from back in the first week of the season or something like that. So shout out to you, Ben, for that. But
I feel like Ben picks the Heat every year, though. Like he's that guy that every year he picks the Heat.
It's like you saying the Jets are good, except his is a more logical statement.
Save it.
Yeah, we'll get there. But for me, they're healthy. I would say Heat in 6. That was my original prediction.
You're crazy, bro. You're crazy.
Now that all this happened, Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5 if Bam and Dragic don't play in 5 games. If Bam can come back, maybe they tack on one more. If Dragic can somehow come back, although he has a pretty bad injury, I don't think he's going to come back for this series.
I don't think so either.
If Bam can come back, I said maybe 6, game 6. If Dragic can come back, then I think we can possibly get to game 7. But the most important games of this series are going to be happening this week, in the next couple days. Because these games they're going to be playing without Bam, Dragic, a banged-up Butler. If they can sneak, even if they go down 3-1 or 2-1 and they get all their players back, they're in a good position. Because if they can sneak even one win before those guys comes back, that's huge. It's huge. And as if there wasn't enough pressure on 20-year-old Tyler Hero, here we go, because the 20-year-old has to pretty much be the second best player on that team now that those two are gone.
Right.
You can say what you want about Goran Dragic, but he's a great point guard. He is, and he's an experienced point guard, and
he was their leading scorer throughout the playoffs.
They're gonna miss him a lot in this series. If he's able to battle it back and come back, that's gonna be huge for Miami, and I think that's gonna be their win factor because Bam Adebayo is day to day from what it looks like. So I think he's missing the next game, but I'm assuming he's gonna be back after that. Dragic is more of a question mark, and I really think he is the difference maker on how late this series gets. And this as well.
I can't disagree with that though. I really don't personally fully healthy. I don't think Miami wins the series, but I do think that if they could sneak out at least one game with these injuries, I think the series can legitimately go 6 or maybe even 7 games because I just think healthy. This Miami Heat team is really, really good. They're a fantastic cohesive unit together. I just personally don't think the star power is enough to take down the star power that the Lakers have, but this team fully healthy is a team that you can't be overconfident playing because fully healthy, Goran Dragic was their leading scorer, but was their third best player. So he's been a fantastic offensive piece, but I said this last week too. I think the absolute X factor for Miami to do anything in this series is Bam Adebayo because he has just been phenomenal for them. By far the best defensive player in the bubble. He's been a pretty good scorer. He's averaging around 5 assists a game, so he's been distributing the ball really well too. He is such an X factor for this team, and without him, who does Miami really have guarding Anthony Davis? I don't think Myers Leonard or Jay Crowder or Solomon Hill or anyone like that is enough to really shut down Anthony Davis. So the key for the Miami is going to be Bam Adebayo coming back. I think they could possibly survive to 6 games without Dragic, but this is going to be a sweep, maybe a 4-1 series win for the Lakers if they don't have Adebayo.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that not every player on the Heat is an X factor in some way, because if you look at the way that they've scored throughout the playoffs, is that almost all of their starters have led each series in scoring over the course of the playoffs. I think Bam led against the Celtics, for example. I know Goran led for a series, and I think Jimmy Butler led for a series.
Yeah, Butler
they've been a team, like a cohesive team playing as a unit together. So when you take out one of those guys, not that Jimmy Butler can't put up 30 points a game, but you're asking a whole extra step that he's not used to performing at, because Jimmy Butler's a great team player. He will do whatever you ask him to, whenever you ask him to. But that's like a whole other level of ask, that it's just kind of taking the entire team on your shoulder. And that's not to say that he's not good for that and you can't count on him for that, but it's a weird change of pace for a team that has succeeded on the fact that they work so well as a unit together. When something like this happens this late in the game, how do you bounce back from that? And honestly, do you? Maybe not. Ideally, you don't have these injury diagnoses, but that's not the situation you're in right now. So if someone's going to fill the shoes of Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero at 20 years old, it's time to step up. That's a crazy ask for a 20-year-old, because that's how old I am. But like if Tyler Hero could step into Goran Dragic's shoes and play the kind of basketball he played in Game 5 against the Celtics, then maybe they have a shot.
Before we move on, that's crazy, by the way. Like, you're worried about homework and like setting up the live stream on Hawk TV, and Tyler Hero's your same age, worried about guarding a top 2 player in NBA history and winning a championship. Like, that's crazy. But
I mean, honestly, the stuff I had to deal with technology-wise tonight, I might actually rather cover LeBron.
Well, yeah.
That is an absolute joke. I'm kidding. My technological being 5 minutes late is a little bit better than having to cover the best basketball player of all time, probably. But we're not getting into that. That's all I'm saying about that.
No, we could reach out to him and we could try it out.
The GOAT. Sorry.
This one more thing about the finals is, who's your finals MVP?
It depends who wins.
Okay, I'll give you one. I'll give you one for each. If it's the Lakers, I really hate not picking LeBron, but if it's the Lakers, it's probably going to be Anthony Davis. And if it's the Heat, like even though I've been saying Adebayo is their X factor, you can't not give it to Jimmy Butler if Miami wins, because he is just. I love Jimmy Butler. He is the alpha dog of all alpha dogs to me, and this playoffs has just proved it. So if it's Miami, Jimmy Butler, I think the Lakers could really go either way, but it'll probably be Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I would say Jimmy Butler almost definitely for the Heat because of the way he leads the team. You don't have to statistic. I think that, not that it's a symbolic award, MVP, because it requires a lot of effort and a lot of work, but Jimmy Butler is kind of the glue that holds that team together, at least in my opinion. He is 100% like the leader in that regard, and he's the person that people look to on that team. He's also in the same regard of someone like Eric Spoelstra, someone who is not taking the credit for the success of the team they built together. He's always deflecting to the other people on the team, which is a really great quality that he holds. And I think it's part of the reason why they've been so successful, is that he's found a place where he can be a leader and he doesn't have to be on people to play basketball. I think that the way that he's helped build this team with Spoelstra for a bunch of young guys or people who were just kind of journeymen looking for a space, Jimmy Butler is probably if they win, the unanimous for me. But for the Lakers, I'd say LeBron, not because he's playing better than Anthony Davis, but just because of the idea of LeBron going to another finals and winning for a 4th time. Right. I think LeBron plays probably more consistently than any player in the history of basketball. That 28, 8 and 7 stat line is been a thing for his entire career. It's continuing to be a thing right now. And even though he has Anthony Davis there helping him, I don't think that Anthony Davis gets there without LeBron, but LeBron might get there without Anthony Davis.
Right. I mean, look at his finals record, by the way, before we move on to football. He's been in the finals for 9 of the past 10 years, and last year was the only time in that span where he wasn't in the finals. I know Sean and I have differing opinions on the GOAT talk, but I mean, either way, whoever's your GOAT, that's incredible. Like, that's absolutely incredible.
No,
just real quick, because we need to wrap up our basketball segment here, but I'm going to say Davis for the Lakers, and I'm going to say for the Heat, if they end up pulling this out, which I hope they do, Dragic comes back and tears it up and gets finals MVP.
I can see that.
Goran
'Cause
Dragic.
Dragic
comes
has been-
back better than ever from the injury and tears it up. Finals MVP. That's my bold prediction. But
I don't think that's bold.
one more
No,
thing.
crazy stuff. Iguodala won it.
One more thing before we move on to basketball. We have a question from Benny D himself. He wants us to
Oh,
talk
no.
about Kendrick Nunn. Thoughts on it?
I was just gonna say, like,
Can
if
he step
Dragic
up to
stays,
the plate? Can he step up?
Yes,
to the plate for the Heat?
if Dragic steps out, he's going to be the only other point guard on the roster, I believe. So he's going to have to step up. And people forget about Kendrick Nunn because Tyler Hero kind of stole the show. But Kendrick Nunn was one of the, 3 or 4 finalists for Rookie of the Year, I believe. He's been a really, really integral part of this team. And I feel like he was completely overshadowed by Tyler Hero. But Kendrick Nunn is a great basketball player. On the offensive side of the ball, I think he can make up for some of that scoring a little bit. Thank you, Ben.
So, yeah, I agree, but also disagree. I think Kendrick Nunn's a great basketball player. I think he could step up and play. But from what he's done in the playoffs so far, which is next to nothing, to step up right now would be miraculous against arguably one of the best rosters in basketball. If you can't pull up against the Bucks or the Sixers and you're not getting playtime against the Celtics, to step up now would be incredible. But it would be completely out of left field, and I would never ever bet on it. I'd love to see it happen, but I think it's going to be more on Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson's shoulders as guards to step up and lead that team, and Kendrick Nunn probably to add depth to that roster rather than be the focal point as a point guard.
I'll say one more thing about Kendrick Nunn, and the thing is, he was Rookie of the Year in the beginning of the season, if you don't remember. And then he got cold at the end of the year. He did. And it kind of carried over into the playoffs now. Now, talking about him stepping up, I told you how important Dragic is to this team and him being out. He's going to be out. So Nunn, he's going to have that shot. He's going to have those minutes in this next game coming up. Is he going to capitalize on it? What do I think? I'm going to say no. But I think Kendrick Nunn has a very, very bright future. He's just in a cold spot right now. And I just don't see him stepping up in the playoffs. He's not. Rookies like that are usually not the people that step up in these situations. If you're looking at it statistically.
So just before we wrap up on this, because I know we want to start moving on, but I guess if there's any team for him to step up on, I would bet on it being a team led by Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler. Both really incredible leaders, both really one a really incredible coach and one a really incredible floor general. If he's going to step up, now's the time, and he has 2 people who are going to do a really great job pushing him to do that. So the more power to him, but I just can't see it happening right now, especially against this roster and that kind of monumental figure in King James.
Right.
So we'll see how that series finishes out. We'll have an update for you next week on it, on whatever is happening with that. My last comment about basketball would be, if Myers Leonard could play as well as he shotguns, I think the Heats do have a chance.
Oh my God.
So moving on from basketball now, let's talk about some football. And I'm going to talk about a quarterback that is completely falling apart. And no, for once, I'm not talking about Sam Darnold. I'm talking about Carson Wentz, guys. And as a Giants fan, I hate the Eagles and stuff like that. But I've actually always liked Carson Wentz. I always thought he was a really good player, just couldn't stay healthy. But, this year it's awful. I don't know if you guys seen some of the stats, but if Russell Wilson was to throw 45 interceptions in a row, he'd have a higher QBR than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz's QBR is below 70 in a clean pocket. So, guys, what's happening with Carson Wentz?
Billy, you could go first.
That's a good question, Sean. I guess, this is a thing that happens to quarterbacks frequently where they just can't bounce back from injury. Unfortunately, Carson Wentz has had a borderline MVP. I don't know if he was the MVP, so correct me if I'm wrong. But he had a borderline MVP season when they won the Super Bowl before he got hurt. And since then, he's just been getting hurt consistently over and over again. And now he's trying to come back. But we've seen quarterbacks try and do this before. It's a really hard position to come back from injury. It's hard to start throwing again. It's hard to, especially someone who relied so much on their mobility, not having full functionality over your legs to save yourself in those kind of situations. He's a great quarterback when he's healthy, and he's shown that he could be great in big game situations, but he's just not there anymore which is a shame to say. You could also account for the fact that the Eagles roster, just in general, has no depth to support him. It's not a healthy offensive line. It's not a safe offensive line to play behind. And there's not a lot of healthy wide receivers to throw to. They've tried to expand on that, and there's some good ones there now. They have some sort of depth at the position, but I just don't know if I would. If I was Carson Wentz, I wouldn't want to be playing in that city anymore. Maybe he needs a change of scenery, but right now everything's downhill for Carson Wentz, which kind of it sucks because I liked watching him play when he was good. He was like electric to watch sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it's a couple things for the Eagles. So first of all, just to kind of echo everything that you said, I think the injuries are obviously the biggest reason why he's been completely falling apart. He doesn't really have too great of a team around him either, and I think that's also been a factor. Like the offensive line around him isn't that great. He doesn't really have too great of a receiving core either. I think probably right now his best position player is probably Miles Sanders, the running back, but I just don't think he has enough help around him. So a change of scenery might be good for him, but then you also have to factor in the injuries, so it might be too late for him for the injuries. But I've been saying this since the start of the season. I would love to see Jalen Hurts suit up for the Eagles and get on the field. I think he's a fantastic football player coming out of the draft this year. He had some really good years in Alabama. I think he's a really good football player. I'm excited to see a player like him in a Philadelphia offense because I think he has the potential to be what the Eagles almost had with Carson Wentz before the injuries, but he's just too injury prone. And even like quote unquote his best seasons were finished off by Nick Foles. Like the Super Bowl year was Carson Wentz's arguably his best season, but he didn't finish the season. Nick Foles finished it and won the Super Bowl for them. So Carson Wentz's legacy is really interesting to me, but I just think it's all falling apart for him. I think the talent's not on the team. The injury bug is too strong for him. His mind's not in the right place. He's in a poor position. I just think it's all of those different factors coming together, and you might not see him in an Eagles uniform next year. And even if he is in an Eagles uniform next year, I wouldn't be too confident in him starting.
Well, it almost makes it feel like the Jalen Hurts pick makes more sense now. And
right.
I don't see you guys say injury, but under 70 QBR rating in a clean pocket. Clean pocket. That's when he's
That's
protected.
just not good football.
That's horrid. Like if you've watched him, he looks like a different person. I don't understand it. And Carson Wentz is a very, very unique player for what we've seen on the field. He embraces the role of an improviser as a quarterback. The amount of sacks and escapes he's made are unheard, ridiculous. So it's just amazing to me. So you bring up change of scenery, right? Maybe that's the case because I could see him leaving the Eagles, getting traded, whatever, and being Carson, like how Carson Wentz usually was. Because to me, there's little to no reason why he's playing so horrid this year.
Right.
I don't know if it's something mental, but Miles Sanders is back in the lineup. Obviously, they're dealing with injuries. Deshaun Jackson's every week. It seems like he might have something new. He might play. Jalen Reagor just hit the IR. Alshon Jeffrey's still out. Greg Ward's playing. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Those guys from the practice squad last year are playing. But I just don't think that's the problem here. And I don't know what the problem is. Did he lose confidence because they took Hurts? Is that something? Because being a quarterback, mental is a big part of it as well. So I don't have an answer why Carson Wentz is all of a sudden awful, but I'll say this, he has time to turn it around because the NFC East is garbage again. So it's not too late. Carson Wentz could go out this week and be vintage Carson Wentz. I don't know. Maybe it just flips a switch like that because there's just no valid explanation for me of why Carson Wentz is playing this way.
Well, so if anyone needs to, if it is something more mental for Carson Wentz, then there is someone else on the Eagles who has to step up and help pull him out of that if they want to see any sort of success for him, and that's Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's been doing a pretty horrid job as a coach this year. He's been falling short of all Eagles fans' expectations throughout the course of the year, and if anyone's going to get Carson Wentz back on track, it should be Doug Peterson, who has historically been a coach who's been pretty good with quarterbacks. To have a coach who specializes in quarterbacks and then have Carson Wentz be playing like this, I don't know if it's just because he's given up on him and he was part of the decision to take Jalen Hurts and he wants to start using him, or if it's just a lack of effort, or he's just not the same coach he used to be. Either way, I still love Carson Wentz. I'd still like to see Carson Wentz have a lot of success wherever he is, wherever he goes. So I would, if the Eagles aren't home for him anymore, if things aren't working out there, if it's not the injury bug, if it's just the location, if it's mental, and I'd sure love to see him get another shot somewhere else, because when he's good, he's a great quarterback and he's hard to play against and he makes the league interesting. So give me more Carson Wentz vintage, please. Thank you.
Mike, anything to add?
I don't really think there's anything else to add. My bottom line is just, I think it's a combination of everything. I think more than anything else, the guy's just in his head. He's in his head because he has such a rough injury history. He's in his head because, quite frankly, he probably knows he doesn't have as talented team around him as he used to. And I don't think the Jalen Hurts pick helped him either. I mean, picking a guy that had so much hype around him in college, and then out of nowhere, this guy's breathing down your neck every week. I think it's a mental thing. I don't know if a move from Philly helps him. I don't know what the situation is, but I do agree with Billy in that I do really think Doug Peterson is a fantastic coach for Carson Wentz. I think if anyone could do it, it's Peterson, but my fear is that it's too late.
And I'm a big Doug Peterson guy too, so I hope the Eagles organization doesn't pin this on him, because he will not be on the open market as a coach for long. And Eagles fans will always have us, no matter what he does, Eagles fans will always like him because he won them their first Super Bowl. Just like they still love Andy Reid. They still love him, Eagles fans. And that's saying something, because if you ever met a Philadelphia fan, they are hard to make someone to love. They are some stubborn people, I'll tell you what. But yeah, we'll see if Carson Wentz figures it out. Moving on from him, we'll stay with football to another interesting quarterback situation. And for a couple of you, as I see Fire Adam Gaze light up in the chat, this is the perfect timing, because this is exactly what we're talking about. Eddie, that was perfect timing. Yes, let's talk about the Jets for our last segment here on GOAT Talk.
Before you say anything, Sam Darnold just had a 46-yard run. That's all I'm going to say. Just had a 46-yard run.
Lamar Jackson too.
Mike. And believe it or not, I'm actually not going to be bashing Darnold a lot tonight. At least that's not the plan. I don't know. Mike usually aggravates me, so we'll see how
I might get there.
But, guys, the question is, Sam Darnold, Adam Gase, so Jets aren't looking good. They're not looking good. So we're talking about a hypothetical solution. What do we have? A
touchdown Jets.
Touchdown Jets. Okay.
Yeah, he had a touchdown run.
Got it. So hypothetical situation here. Jets come in last place, let's say, right? And they get the first pick. As a Jet fan, or as just a fan in general, do you think the Jets, let's say they fire Adam Gase too, do you think the Jets should take Trevor Lawrence?
No,
not a chance.
I'm coming in quick with that. And as a Jets fan, let me speak on why.
Okay.
I think Trevor Lawrence I think he's going to be okay. I'm not like super sold on Trevor Lawrence, but the reason I don't want them picking him is not because it's Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think it's time to give up on Darnold yet. And we just talked about this with Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is a talented player who, two completely different situations, but I just think both of those guys, Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz, aren't playing to their potential. And I really don't think it helped Wentz with picking Jalen Hurts. So I don't think it'll do Darnold any justice getting Trevor Lawrence. I'm all for quarterback competition. I think Joe Flacco is actually a good signing for the Jets, because maybe it wasn't necessarily quarterback competition, but it's putting another proven guy in that locker room. But I don't think Trevor Lawrence is the answer to not only the Jets' quarterback problems, but more importantly, not to fixing Sam Darnold. I think Darnold can, and we've argued about Sam Darnold a lot.
Oh, yeah.
In all seriousness, I think that it is. And I've preached how many times I think he's going to be the GOAT and all this stuff. But in all seriousness, I really do think that Sam Darnold can be a good starting quarterback in this league. I don't think he's going to be anything fantastic. I think he can be a solid, average starting quarterback. I know, Sean, you're saying no, just let me finish. I think the Jets need to give him a legitimate chance, and I really don't think they've given him a chance yet, because they've had a bum of a coach for the last 2 years, and they haven't put talented players around him. I'm looking right now. I have the stats up for this game. his position players, Jameson Crowder is back. He's a good receiver. Jameson Crowder is back. His top skill players right now are Chris Hogan, Frank Gore, Jamison Crowder, and Braxton Berrios. Say what you want about the Jets and their team and Darnold and whatever, but you got to give the guy something. And Braxton and Frank Gore aren't going to help make Sam Darnold the better quarterback.
Disagree.
I think they need one more offseason. Listen, if you want to throw the talent in after Darnold next season, I'm okay with it. Give the guy one more season next year where you go into the offseason, you finish putting together your offensive line, you get a couple of relatively talented position players, and you see what you have next year. If by the end of next year you have a more talented team and he's garbage, okay. But the dude just had a 46-yard touchdown run. There's talent there.
You're taking one play.
Don't
even.
Listen, did you see? I am taking moments that he's had,
just like,
and I think that there's a.
You're taking a moment.
I think no. He had the fantastic play where he escaped the pocket and threw for a touchdown.
One play
against San Francisco.
One play
Okay,
you're highlighting. Oh,
just
he did this.
Okay, but just hear me out. Hear me out. I mean this genuinely. I really think that there is something there. I just don't think that the Jets have given him a fair shot yet. And it doesn't have to be because now the argument's not even about the Jets anymore. Now the argument's about Darnold. I think if you move Darnold to another team, he can actually be an okay quarterback. Maybe the fit isn't New York for him, but I really do think there's something there. And the other half of this is that I just don't think Trevor Lawrence is that guy where if you're going to throw in the towel on your potential friend, not saying he's going to be a franchise QB, but the guy who you're, hailing as your savior, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is the guy to succeed him if you're failing on Darnold.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Sam Darnold isn't a franchise quarterback. Let's just get that out of the way and done. He can be good. He can be good, but he hasn't shown any signs of being able to do that in the NFL. He's been wildly inconsistent. As far as giving a player weapons and things to play with, it's not an exact comparison, but Joe Burrow, he's had some weapons, but Joe Burrow's been playing pretty decent football for someone with a very weak team around them. That's weak coaching, weak depth, weak receiving staff, and whatever you can think of. Joe Burrow doesn't have a lot to play with, but he's been playing good football. If that was the result you were looking for from Darnold, you're not getting that. So clearly, he's someone who's going to rely on a team being around him. He'll never be franchise quarterback levels good unless he puts in a lot of offseason work, a lot of great stuff. And I never want to wish poorly on any player, so I do hope Sam Darnold does have a good career and he succeeds and he finds a place to exist. On behalf of all football lovers, I wish the same thing for Trevor Lawrence, and that's why I cannot ever condone the Jets drafting him. The Jets just have a curse around them right now where they just whoever they draft, whatever they do, no matter what, they could get prime Jerry Rice right now and they would still lose games. It's just something about what they're doing in New York doesn't work at all, and they keep trying it every year and it just doesn't work. You lose. You can't win games if you're losing prime playmakers like Jamal Adams in an offseason. I understand Jamal Adams was a little bit negative for that team, but you should be doing more to want a guy like that to stay. You have a defense of players who are wildly talented, but you can't stop other teams from scoring on you. It just doesn't.
That's the problem.
It doesn't make sense. And again, it boils all the way down to coaching. You can't blame defense on Sam Darnold. Adam Gase is just not a good coach. The Jets have had a horrible run of just coaches who are coordinators and nothing more. Like Adam Gase is an offensive coordinator. He's never going to be head coach caliber. And even then, he can't coach an offense, clearly. Todd Bowles was a pretty great defensive coordinator, but he couldn't do the head coaching job. They need to find someone, and the biggest mistake the Jets have made in recent years is passing up on Mike McCarthy.
Agreed, 100%.
Because even I am not a huge Mike McCarthy fan. I've had plenty of bad seasons with him in Green Bay, but he's a good coach when he's coaching good. And that's more than you could say in the head coaching position for anyone that they've had in recent years. They need to hire someone with the experience, someone who's coming off the job and knows how to do that job. If you're going to do that, you need to make sure that they can work with the roster. So if you're going to hire a new guy, I could totally see Sam Darnold being dished out. Like Sam Darnold, if they're going to fire Adam Gase this week, like people are suspecting is going to happen if they lose, and he's going to get out of there, and they hire a new head coach with experience, you could probably bet that he is going to want to have some sort of control over the roster, who he's coaching. If he doesn't see potential in Sam Darnold to be what he wants him to be, Sam Darnold is probably going to be replaced with that 1 overall pick. I think that that's a fair bet. But otherwise, I think that Sam Darnold does have potential to be a good quarterback. He's shown signs that he could throw. I know you disagree, Sean, and I understand why. I'm trying to be nice to the kid.
I'm just trying to let you finish because we're gonna have to break this down a little bit.
I know.
First of all, LeBron just tweeted about this run, and I just watched the video. Like, this was insane. I'm sorry. Go on.
So like the whole issue doesn't boil down to Sam Darnold. So you can't blame him for them losing right now. Then again, you can't blame him for not having talent. He has to step up as a player. He has to play better. And if he wants to validate his spot on being on a roster, he better start playing better football. That's all there is to it. If a new coach is going to come in, I guarantee you they're not going to look at Sam Darnold and say that's the guy, and they're going to work with him, because you're going to be guaranteed a top 10 pick at this point in the season because you know you're going to lose. You might as well assume that you're going to be going quarterback again, because Sam Darnold hasn't shown anything that will show me that he can be a franchise level quarterback, whereas other quarterbacks in his class or in classes right before him or after him have played significantly better. You can't be waiting on quarterbacks anymore. Patrick Mahomes did it in his first season, threw 51 touchdowns or whatever. Like, not that I expect that from Sam Darnold, but like,
we don't have Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce, but
well, you know what I mean. But like,
Stop talking.
He's a first round pick that got drafted 15th overall. You have Lamar Jackson, who's coming out playing excellent in his first season. Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield's even performing somewhat inconsistently, but he's performing. You don't get anything from Sam Darnold. Except for a 46-yard touchdown run once every 3 seasons.
Longest run by a Jets QB ever.
Stop.
Okay.
Put that out there.
It's my turn now. Okay.
There you go.
Sean's so mad.
All right. Let's break this down. There's a lot to talk about. And Eddie, I see you in the chat, and I 100% agree with you, buddy.
Oh God, what's Eddie saying?
What's this kid saying?
Since my time on air on Hawk TV, is that Sam Darnold is not a good quarterback. He never has been. He never will be the Jets quarterback. He will never lead them to a Super Bowl. Okay? Now, do they give up on him? No. Listen, no. I think he deserves a shot with a couple more skilled players around him. Okay? I agree. But what's one of the receivers' names you just said? Chris Hogan, right? Tom Brady has become the greatest quarterback of all time with players worse than who the Jets have. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
Okay. I don't disagree.
That's all I need
but
to know. I'm not
now
done.
we're comparing Sam Darnold to Tom Brady.
I'm not done. Okay? So, Adam Gase is the problem. I've been saying it since day one. He's the worst coach in the NFL. He is an absolute goon who stole money by becoming an NFL head coach. Now, Jets will lose tonight. They will. Because they decided to wear all black for Adam Gase's funeral on Thursday night. So hopefully Gase is fired after tonight. You should be happy about that. And honestly,
I am.
I hope you're paying attention, Mike, because this is one of the only times I'm going to say it is I feel bad for Sam Darnold. I do.
Clip it.
This year.
Say that again.
This year is such a, how do I say this in a FDA approved or FTC approved way? This year is such a poop show. It really is. And he's just, you could tell in that last press conference that he just wanted to go off, but he can't. And I think he deserves another year to see what can happen. Because I think Trevor Lawrence is not the answer for the Jets. I can't say the Jets have skilled offensive players because they clearly don't. Jamison Crowder is a very skilled receiver, but that's it. That's where Rashad Perryman has been a good wide receiver for in his time, but that's it. But again, Darnold I don't think is a great quarterback. I think he could be average. But I've been trying to back off the Darnold bash this year because Daniel Jones is playing just as bad. So it's not like I have a counter to it. But New York football is a mess right now. It really is. And I hope, to close out my little statement here about Sam Darnold, I hope that the reason they did decide to wear black uniforms tonight is because Adam Gase gets fired tonight, for your guys' sake.
And I'll just... No, I'm not... Listen, I'm not going to, really disagree with anything you said.
Bad, right? That wasn't that bad.
No, that really wasn't that bad. No, because the thing is that I think we have different opinions on how good Sam Darnold can be. I truthfully don't think he's going to be more than I really don't think he's going to be more than average, but I think he's a player that really has to be in the right situation. But I'll put it to you this way. As a fan, I am not ready to throw the towel in with Sam Darnold until I see how he plays without Adam Gase. And maybe that doesn't necessarily mean a drastically improved roster. I'm not talking about going out and getting one of the alpha dog wide receivers in the NFL or something like that. But if he can maybe get one additional weapon that's a little bit better and a new coach just to see how he plays there. But if, like I said, if he doesn't play well next season with a different coach, then I'm ready to give up on him. But I do think he deserves another chance. And now this is me speaking as unbiased, not as a Jets fan, completely unbiased. I think he's in one of the 2 or 3 worst positions in the NFL as a quarterback. And a lot of it really does have to... Yeah, because a lot of it does have to do with the coach.
That Mike Fazzino was saying.
That took a long time to get there, but
clip it.
No, well, I mean, just to kind of wrap that up, I think that goes off of 2 things. It goes off the fact that, number one, I think he does have the worst coach in the league. And number 2, whether you want to blame it on injuries or general manager moves, the team around him isn't really all that great. So I just think he is in one of the worst positions. And again, to Billy's point now, that's not necessarily the only issue because he does need to step up as a player and play better. So part of it is on him, but just the situation around him doesn't really help either. And the Jets have always been, now I'm speaking as a fan, the Jets have always been a pretty toxic team to be around. They're New York sports media, so they're always in the news. They've kind of had a bit of a carousel of a front office over the past couple of years. So it's been a bit of a toxic environment, but it's just a couple of those different factors. But we'll wait and see what the Jets do with Gase. I am hoping that Gase does get fired at some point during the season. So at the minimum, we could get maybe half the season of Darnold without Gase, and then, maybe consider, if I see half a season of Darnold without Gase and he's still not good, then I would maybe reconsider the comments I made about drafting a quarterback. But I wouldn't be ready to draft a quarterback until I see Gase until I see Darnold without Gase. And that's my closing statement on this.
Billy,
thank you for not being too harsh.
Yeah, I mean,
for once.
I guess if I'm going to close real quick,
just about the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Just about the Jets. Even if Darnold plays a bad second half of this season, I still don't think draft quarterback. You have so many glaring holes on that team that you have to fill in every position. So drafting a quarterback will never help you. You have to make sure that you can perform in other aspects. If you're going to, at this point, with a team like the Jets, the only thing that we've seen work for them in recent years, even a little bit, as far as quarterbacks go, is signing an old veteran to come and play for them.
Joe Flacco was a great move.
Joe Flacco. I think the last time we saw that before Joe Flacco was probably Brett Favre, who played right before Mark Sanchez got the
about that for a hot minute.
It played for one season and took him to the AFC Championship. The Jets have been inconsistent. And they just can't draft a quarterback. Maybe a scout needs to get fired, but either way, what it boils down to is that even if Sam Darnold plays a bad half of the season, it's not like they're going to get a new coach after they fire Adam Gase. It'll be an interim coach. They're going to be playing with someone who's already part of that squad of people. You know what I mean? Yeah, that clown car. They're just going to get another one out of the rotating circus. So it doesn't matter. Either way, this won't be his proving season because you've already started with Adam Gase. So you might as well take the advantage of the fact that you're going to have the first pick, get the best player available, and then move forward. Do not draft a defensive player Draft someone on offense.
Yeah, well, we tend to do that a lot. So
do not draft a defensive player, please, God. Like if there's another offensive or defensive lineman on edge rusher who's projected to go number 1 overall, don't take him. You don't need him. Just
we're gonna take him and trade him 4 years later, like we normally do.
Why not? Sure, let's do that. But yeah, I think that the only hope that the New York Jets have is trying to draft best available player for as long as they can. Otherwise, they're hopeless, and they gotta get rid of Gase, and they gotta give Darnold one last shot. But even then, veteran quarterback is the way to go for the Jets because clearly they can't draft him.
Well said.
We're all in agreement that as of right now, the Jets should not take a quarterback with that top pick, and hopefully Gase gets fired. I agree, but obviously something could happen later in the season where I change my mind on that. But I'm also not huge on Trevor Lawrence. But we'll get to that in a sec. But we'll see what the Jets do. I don't know who's going to be better this year, the Jets or the Giants, but I'm sure that will be a debate in a later show. Now, we have a little bit of time left, and I want to just talk about very quickly about Trevor Lawrence and just where would you like to see him go? What do you think of him? Also, I forgot to say this about the Jets. I know me and Mike are in agreement about this, is that what the Jets should have done is keep Teddy and have Teddy Bridgewater as their quarterback back when they
drafted Barkley.
But and drafted Barkley, yes. But done with the Jets. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence, guys.
Yeah, Mike, you want to start?
Yeah, so I think I don't know how I feel about Trevor Lawrence, to tell you the God's honest truth. My worry with him is that he's going to be one of those kids who just plays out of his mind in college, and that's it. But I think the clear assumption is that however people feel about him, he's probably going to be the number 1 pick. I think that's fair to say. So I'm looking at teams that, might potentially be a good fit for him. And I we touched on this, so I'm not going to dive into it again. I don't think the Jets are one of those teams, but there are a couple teams I really think Trevor Lawrence could be a good fit on that might fall into that top pick. One of them I really think might be the Broncos. The Broncos are 0-3 right now. I really can't see them winning more than 2 or 3 games. I think they're going to be a viable candidate for the number 1 pick. I don't know if Drew Lock is their guy that they view as a long-term quarterback, and I really don't think that seeing if Drew Lock is that guy is worth passing up on Trevor Lawrence for. So I think Denver could definitely be an option. One more team that I just want to throw out there really quickly is Sean. I'm sorry.
Don't say it. Because if you're going to say it, then you have to say your own team too, because they're in the same situation, buddy.
I wasn't going to say the Giants.
Oh, okay. Minnesota?
I don't know if Gardner Minshew is the answer in Jacksonville.
No, absolutely not. You're not.
I think
that trash out of here.
Listen, all I'm saying is that if the Jaguars find themselves in the top 3, it will be extremely difficult for them to pass on a guy like Trevor Lawrence. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be that good. And I know I just broke Sean's heart by saying that Gardner Minshew might not be their guy, but this is the same situation. Hear me out. The same situation that I think the Broncos might be in. They have a guy, Drew Lock, Gardner Minshew, who I think they envision as being their long-term starting quarterback, but is a guy like Drew Lock or Gardner Minshew enough to pass?
Those are two
completely different players. But are they? Joe Flacco's in the game? Sorry, I don't even want to know. Yeah, I know.
No. You don't get to pick and choose. Come on, you got more.
Both of those, I don't know if having both of those guys. I'll focus on Jacksonville. I don't know if having Gardner Minshew is enough to say I can pass on Trevor Lawrence to stick with Gardner Minshew.
He's playing so good this year, though.
He is, but
awesome this year.
I'm going to give one more extremely hot take, and then I'm going to pass it to Billy. This might be worse than the Jacksonville one. Minnesota's 0-3 too.
That's not a hot take. That's where I thought you were going with this.
Yeah, so Jacksonville was kind of my hot take just because I could see them falling in the top 3. Personally, let me say this. I would rather have Gardner Minshew than Trevor Lawrence. I think they need to stick with Gardner Minshew. I'm just saying, knowing how Jacksonville operates, if they're in that situation to draft Lawrence, I think they might consider it. But I think the best fit for him, honestly, would be Minnesota. I think they need to move on from Kirk Cousins. I was saving that for last because that was kind of my main one. Yeah. But
So I could see Jacksonville doing that. I think you're right on that point. But if they do that, Gardner Minshew's just going to get a starting job somewhere else. Because
yes, I don't think I didn't say that. I don't think they should do that. I just think they might do it.
I agree with you. I think they might. But Gardner Minshew, I think, has shown this year that he's not slumping from last year. Like I think from what I've seen from him in his games, I thought he's looked really good, like really sharp as a quarterback. So if they do that, then I think he'll find an easy time finding a job somewhere else. Just looking ahead, where that might be, Chicago. You're looking at Minnesota. Might need a quarterback. I don't know who retires at that point, but there's going to be someone who needs a quarterback. And if Gardner Minshew keeps up what he's doing this year with a not talented Jacksonville team,
right?
He's a starter, Gardner Minshew to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about
just
Jones, Darnold, Locke, and Minshew. Minshew, I think, has shown that he's the best out of all of them so far.
I agree. Just to give an update really quickly, Darnold probably dislocated his shoulder.
His throwing shoulder?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the update really quickly.
After all we just talked about. Wow.
After all the talk. But Billy, I want to hear what you think about Trevor Lawrence.
Well, first of all, I hope Sam Darnold gets better. Hate to see that happen, and especially right after we just finished wrapping up talking about him. I guess the goat talk curse. Anyway, I think we just started a curse. But anyway, I don't know what to think about Trevor Lawrence. I'm not a huge college football fan, but Trevor Lawrence is always in the media cycle. Like, he's always positively impacting that team. Is it that hard to do in Clemson? You're being surrounded by some of the best coaching staff in football, some of the best players that will ever play collegiately. So I don't know if he's necessarily being challenged to perform at a high level. That being said, I could see him going to Minnesota, and I could see him going to Denver, and I guess I could see him going to Jacksonville. But then again, I would put the Jets before Minnesota or Denver, or Jacksonville and Denver, excuse me. Just because if you look at the way that the quarterbacks have performed across those three teams, Sam Darnold inconsistent, Gardner Minshew has been pretty consistently good for them, and Drew Lock, from when he's been playing, has been consistently good. And when you look at the history of the Denver Broncos, especially being owned by John Elway, who is very consistently looking for a quarterback and looking for a good one, he hasn't liked one as much as he's liked Drew Lock recently.
Right.
For them to go out and draft another quarterback, I guess it makes sense for a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who is consistently like being lauded as this great quarterback in college football. But I think that it would be almost foolish of them to move on to another let's draft a quarterback kind of move when they kind of just found someone who feels comfortable in the offense they're trying to run and the team they've been building for a while. So I think those teams are out of the question. I think it really boils down to Minnesota and the Jets. Now, I did say that I don't think the Jets should do it, but I don't think the Jets should do a lot of things, and they always do them anyway.
Right. Fair.
So I can't say for certain that they wouldn't take Trevor Lawrence with the first overall pick, especially if Sam Darnold just dislocated his shoulder. That changes.
You got body
everything.
slammed.
Yeah. That'll do that to a guy.
I'll do it.
But hope I don't know where Trevor Lawrence fits. If you really think about the NFL right now, today, there's a really excellent quarterback pool already active in the league.
Exactly.
Which is a really weird thing to be saying because it seems like the position people are always looking for. But I think most of the guys who are starting right now are active starters and deserve to be for a reason. I guess Kirk Cousins is just someone who made money I never thought Kirk Cousins should have got paid what he got paid to play quarterback. I never thought he should have been in that role.
Because most of you know I'm a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but there's nothing.
I know.
But honestly, though, he might be like what Nick Foles was in Jacksonville. They paid him all that money to be that guy, and then they had a rookie come in and essentially completely take his starting spot. So would it be really that? I know you like Kirk Cousins, I'm sorry, but in reality, would it really be a surprise if Trevor Lawrence came in and did the same thing to a big contract
Honestly,
QB?
I could see Kirk being like a journeyman backup, like Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I could see Kirk doing that if he wants to play that long.
He's got to grow the beard out a little bit longer.
But he doesn't even need to play that long. He's made his money, and I feel like he wasn't ever a quarterback who was destined to win anything. Sorry. I just don't think he was ever.
He is, so it's fair.
He played for a bad team and played good for them. So they were like, okay, he has to be good if we put him on a good team. They gave him a 4-year, $84 million deal.
He's not good under pressure.
He really isn't. And when you have, I don't even remember who the quarterback was for the Vikings who took them Case Keenum. Case Keenum. I was going to say Blaine Gabbert, but they both have the same level of prestige in the NFL. But still, Case Keenum succeeded in that offense. You would expect a guy like Kirk Cousins to too, and he hasn't recently. So I could totally see Trevor Lawrence taking that job in Minnesota. And I think that if Trevor Lawrence is everything that he's hyped up to be for at least a couple of years, it would make for a really interesting division in the NFC with guys like Aaron Rodgers and Trevor Lawrence and Matt Stafford and whoever's going to be playing quarterback in Chicago. It could be fun, but I don't know where truly needs Trevor Lawrence's talents right now besides Minnesota or New York. And when I say New York, I mean both teams. Sorry.
So wrap it up. I have a hot take that I have a team that none of you said.
If you say the Packers, I swear to God.
The Patriots.
Okay. Yeah, people have said that for a while.
I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence guy, but if Bill Belichick likes him, they have the facilities to trade up for that pick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was just gonna say, like, my initial thing was, do you think that they would be that bad? But I was having a conversation with someone today, and I think they're like a dark horse contender.
Oh, they are good. But Newton said this is a 1-year thing for him.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see them making a move up for Trevor Lawrence. I feel like he'd be such a natural fit on that team. I don't think that's out of a take.
All right, not to get off track, but Newton said this was a 1-year thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because he wants to prove that he can get a max contract again.
All right.
I don't know if he's proven he can get a.
He's not gonna.
Yeah, I don't think he's proving a max. No. I don't think he's gonna get a max again. But I think he might get paid this offseason. Like, to me, New England's on the lower end of the top 6 or 7 teams in the NFL right now. They've been a dark horse contender for me, and I think Cam Newton's been such a huge part of that. He's been really good.
Right, but I think their success when you compare it to the Buccaneers is mostly due, in fact, to it's not quarterback play. It's based on the fact that they have one of the greatest coaches of all time.
No, absolutely. Cam's playing the way he's playing because of his coach.
No, 100%. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail. I just hadn't heard Cam Newton had said that, and that's kind of baffling to me when you have.
Yeah, he said that a couple of times.
Excellent team, but we'll save that for another time. Anyway, yes. Trevor Lawrence in New England is actually probably a good fit for him.
So, any final thoughts? Anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Before we wrap it up really quickly, I know we talked about this super quick in the beginning of the show, but Doc Rivers to Philly, really quick, good or bad move?
Good.
Yeah, good.
Good. We'll talk about it next week, though.
Philly needs all the help they could get next week.
Just because it was breaking news, wanted to put it out there real quick, but good move, I agree.
All right.
Word.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you follow Goat Talk on Instagram. It's g.o.a.t._talk. Instagram is _goat_talk. Make sure you go follow the Twitter as well. Make sure you subscribe to Hawk TV on YouTube and follow them on Instagram as well. Every Thursday night, 8 to 10, you can see our updates on our socials. And for those of you listening who are quiet out there, make sure you can ask some questions next time. We like hearing from you guys. So I hope everyone has a safe and masked weekend. See? I got you, former SGA president. I want everyone wearing a mask here at Monmouth. But, everyone have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.